Joining me now, I have retired U.S. Army Brigadier General Sean Harris, Georgia Democratic congressional candidate, and Jonathan Ruhe, Director of Foreign Policy at the Jewish Institute for National Security of America. Gentlemen, good morning to both of you. Thank you for your time. General, the president spoke for 19 minutes. Was it the speech you were hoping to hear, and what stood out to you militarily?
Yeah, first of all, good morning, Marky. Yes, he spoke for 19 minutes, but he really didn't tell us much of anything that we didn't already know. He didn't actually tell us how do we end up getting into this particular war, but more importantly, because we're already in it, even from a military point of view, he didn't tell us how we were going to get out of it, what is the exit strategy, and then most of all, what is the day after? So right now, I think it's still a lot of questions out there, and I just want to go and put right out front that we could win this war militarily, but we can actually lose this war politically.
Jonathan, a lot of speculation before the speech. You know, could he withdraw from the war? Could he withdraw from NATO after yesterday? Could he announce a ground operation? What were your top takeaways, not only from what was said, but also what was left unsaid as well?
So I think the most important takeaway of what was said was that Trump said he had achieved regime change in Iran, which was originally one of his objectives, but I think is certainly a debatable point, considering that what's left of the Iranian regime has signaled that it's going to be even more hardline and defiant than the people they replaced from the start of the conflict. And then I think what was left unsaid in a lot of ways was how exactly Trump expects the Strait of Hormuz to reopen. He said essentially it will reopen by itself, but to go ahead and declare victory, even given our military accomplishments, for the Strait of Hormuz to remain closed, or for the Iranian regime to believe that they decide who goes through, to not have an answer to that, I don't think you could walk away and say that anything like victory has been achieved at this point.
Yeah. And General, let me just expand on that a little bit. You know, if he's putting the onus now on other countries to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and he said we don't get, much of our oil from there, it's everybody else's problem now to reopen it, while at the same time saying we've decimated Iran's Navy, we've decimated their Air Force. I mean, what's left? Then why not declare victory?
Well, that's what I mean when I say we could win this war military but lose it politically, is because all of those things that he said is actually 100% true. Our military is doing an awesome job. Yeah. But the reality of it is oil is connected to the entire world. And even though we produce a lot of oil here in the United States, our oil prices are tied back to the Strait of Hormuz. And if those ships are not coming through, oil prices are going to still stay up higher and potentially go even higher than they are right now. Mm-hmm. So from a military point of view, the countries around the world are saying, United States, you actually started this war. This is yours. You broke it. You fix it. Because as of right now, I don't see any of our allies coming to our support to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
Jonathan, I think that was one of the other takeaways. He wasn't nearly as harsh or strict, about NATO last night as he has been in interviews on Truth Social. Were you surprised by that? And how do you think our other, NATO allies are responding to his speech this morning and his calls on them to reopen the strait?
Yeah, I think in that sense, even though, as you say, he didn't speak very much about our allies, either positively or negatively, I think the speech last night continues to raise the dilemma which we've seen come out of this conflict, which is, Trump started a military operation against Iran. Militarily, it's been incredibly successful. At the same time, Iran has been able to make this a political and economic problem globally that I don't think Trump was necessarily prepared for. The sort of coalition building and alliance management aspect of this, I think, is still a missing piece. And even though the United States and Israel have done quite an incredible job operationally, mostly just the two of them, ultimately finding a way, as we talked about, to declare a political victory is going to require a more international solution. And I think that work largely remains still to be done.
General, let me ask you just one more last quick question here. Of course, we're now looking ahead to next Monday, right? That's the next deadline for when the new grace period ends. You either reopen the strait or we bomb your power plants. Say the president follows through on that. What does that mean for our American troops in the region, and where would that then take us in the next round of fighting?
Yeah, next Monday is very important because, again, we have actually staged a another red line, which is Monday. The question that I was looking for him to answer last night: are we going to put boots on the ground? And if so, where are we going to put the boots? I wasn't expecting him to tell us it in great detail, but I think he needs to let the American people know that we're going to escalate this war, or we're going to try to back out of it. And last night, he kind of was saying both things at the same time. So a lot of things still going to play out here in the next 48 hours. But if we do put boots on the ground, I would tell you that would be a very tough fight, and more of our troops are going to get killed. But at the end of the day, I still believe this is something that we can win from a military point of view, but from a political point of view, if we don't get our hands around it, we will go in history of losing this war politically.
Well, we'll watch and see what happens next. Jonathan Ruhe, Brigadier General Sean Harris, thank you both so very much. As always, I appreciate your time and expertise. All right, everybody.